And welcome to the Aaron Katzman Show. I'm your host, Aaron Katzman. We speak about your life, your money, and your investments. And as always, we're coming to you from the spiritual and soon-to-be financial capital of the world, Jerusalem, Israel. If you like this content, for sure hit like, and also feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So you're panicked about retirement. You're in your 50s and you're like, holy cow, what am I going to do? Because I've got like another 10 years left to work and you've got nothing saved. This is a question that I get, believe it or not, I get often. I actually got it recently. It was a little different. The question I got recently was the recent question I got was, should we buy another property that we can't afford and blow out our retirement savings in order to do so? But we'll leave that aside, okay? There are a couple of things that you want to do. First of all, rule number one, never panic, okay? Take a deep breath. Okay, now you're cool. Don't panic, okay? Everything will work out one way or another. Why? First of all, you're gonna get some kind of a government pension. It might be lousy, but it's better than nothing. If you're married, you get two of them. So hope is not all is lost, okay? There are a few goals that you want to set when you hit retirement. Number one is you want to have your house paid off, because that's going to free up a lot of money, right? Mortgage payments are a lot, and that's going to free up a lot of money for you to then either spend or not have as an expense. What I really recommend doing before, any kind of magic, okay, is to get control of your expenses. What are you spending now? And try and extrapolate from that what's going to come off, whether it's kids, education, or what have you, and try and estimate how much you're really going to need in retirement. Okay, that's rule number one. It's probably going to be a little bit less than you're spending now, if you're in your 50s. Okay, that's number one. Once you have sort of that target, then subtract your Social Security, whatever other government pension you might have, depending on where you live, right? It could be in Israel, Bituach Leumi, whatever it is, right? Subtract from that, and then you'll see, okay, this is what we really, really need. If you have any other kind of pensions, whether it's defined benefit types of a pension, in Israel, you could have your own pension. Find out how much of that is. Call up your agent, see how much money, based on today's dollar, and based on continuing contributions, what the estimate will be then, okay? Subtract that from your expense line. And now you see, okay, this is what we really, really, really need to have. Okay? And then, how do we get to that level? Let's say we need to have extra X amount of money to supplement our income. We have to go, all in to get to that before we retire. It might mean also, I hate to break it to you, but it might mean that you have to delay retirement by a year or two, or at least one of you has to, okay? You might have to keep working a little bit. Working is great for planning for retirement or actually actualizing retirement, because one, you don't spend that much money while you're working, you're actually getting money in, and that helps at the back end of retirement. They say every year that you delay retirement, you're retiring, right? Every year you keep working adds around 2 to 3 years later on when you're in the 80s and 90s in terms of not running out of money. And that's obviously huge, right? That's the goal. We don't want to run out of money. Okay. So once we have our house paid off by the time of retirement, we know how much supplementary income we may need. So now go out and do it, right? You're working now. If you know that you're going to need $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, right, extra in the next 10 years, 12 years, whatever it is that you have left of your working life. So save it, or save part of it and invest it and watch your money grow over the next decade or 5 or 6 years. It's not so terrible. You might have to cut your lifestyle somewhat. You might not be able to go out as much. You might not be able to take as many trips, right? But it's for a greater good, right? That greater good is that you can actually eat when you're in your mid 70s and mid 80s, right? That's what we want you to do. We don't want any starvation going on, and we don't want you knocking on your kids' doors with your suitcases and say, hey kids, we're moving in because we're bankrupt. We don't want that, okay? We don't want that. So I had a call yesterday from somebody, and they were already like 60 and they weren't working, and they'd actually made what's called Aliyah. They immigrated to Israel, and they said they weren't able to work because they're learning the language. They're in a program where they learn Hebrew. And these were people who were sort of financially challenged, right? They don't have a lot set for retirement. And I said, first of all, those programs don't go for like 10 hours a day. And second of all, you need money, okay? Hello, you need money, okay? You might not speak the language, but you can work in a supermarket, you can work as a delivery person, okay? Throw pride out the window. Nobody's gonna care about your pride if you're 75 or 80 and you can't eat, okay? So just forget about it. Do whatever it takes, if it's legal, do whatever it takes in order to increase your income, okay? Work in a supermarket, work some extra hours in a supermarket. I walk to and from work almost every day, and I pass lots of stores, and almost every single one of them has a help wanted sign in the window. So there's plenty of jobs to be had where you don't need to be a nuclear physicist, okay? And even if you are, you can still work in a supermarket or as a pizza delivery guy to make some extra money, okay? So what have we learned? Number one, don't panic, right? Close your eyes, a little meditation. That's about as much yoga as going to get after me. Namaste, right? That's what they say in yoga. Namaste, okay? That's it for the yoga. I don't believe in any of that kind of stuff. That's why we have the sailboat and the sunset in the background. That's my yoga. That's my calming influence. But really, okay? Don't panic, but be smart, okay? Time's ticking, okay? So make sure that by the time you retire, your house is paid off. If it's not gonna be, accelerate and get it paid off before then. You really, really need to have your house paid off by the time you hit retirement. Number two, analyze whatever kind of pensions, whatever kind of government pensions you're going to have. Subtract that from your estimated expenses that you think you're going to have when you retire. And that will give you the number that you need to supplement the income in order for you to make ends meet. And that's the number. Once we know that number, we can figure out how much money you really need to have saved up when you decide to retire and invest. And if that number, if you're way short of that number right now, okay, work, take another job, right? Swallow your pride and do whatever it takes to be able to get to that magic number. Because as I said earlier, right? You swallow your pride now so that you can swallow bread in 15 years. How's that? That's a good one. I'm gonna copyright that. Okay, no, seriously, do what you need to do now so that later on in 10 years or whenever it is that you retire, right? You're already in your 50s. You don't have another 30 years to try and hope that things work out, right? You have maybe 10 years. If you work a little bit longer, you've got maybe 15 years, which is a ton of time to save up the money that you're gonna need, okay? Don't get me wrong. That's again, like, don't have to panic, just have to be smart. And it might require you working a little bit extra now, but it's for a greater good, okay? You've been tuning into the Aaron Katzman Show, where we never panic, but we do speak about your life, your money, and your investments. And be sure, if you like this content or any other of my content, please hit the like button and, of course, subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll speak to you soon.